my God, what have they done to my son?" Long ago, I held him in my arms as he smiled, cooed, and brimmed with new life. I covered his nakedness with swaddling clothes. Tonight, someone else will cover his lifeless, naked body in a funeral shroud. I will hold him one last time in my arms, but his face will never smile again. God, is this the fulfillment of the angel's message given to me at his conception, that my little lamb would be the Savior of the world? When my little Jesus was dedicated in the temple, Simeon told me a sword would pierce my soul. If only a sword would pierce my heart instead, so that I might die instead of him. But no such release has come to me, only the piercing of my soul as bystanders mock my silent son, mistaking his word Eloi, my God, as Eli, referring to the prophet Elijah. From Jesus' parched lips, they missed the verbal cue my Jesus was giving about his identity as God's son. According to our prophet Malachi, Elijah would come back to life and announce the Messiah's return just before his arrival. And so today, the bystanders jeered at my son. "We know Elijah will come to herald the Messiah when he comes. Let's wait and see if he rescues this pretender." Yet they missed it. Elijah had symbolically come in my nephew John the Baptist, who would announce Jesus was the Christ. Those who taunted Jesus were clueless to all of this. I yearned to shout at them, to make them understand, but my voice was too hoarse from weeping. I turned away from the mocking crowd back to my son's agony being endured just above me. I ached to hear the sweetness of his beloved voice. I could not help but continually imagine the pain he was experiencing, the loss of blood, the extended exposure to the sun, wind, and heat, the dislocated limbs from standing on nailed feet to breathe, the tearing of ligaments, the unimaginable burning of muscles. On top of that, he had been given nothing to drink since yesterday's Passover dinner. His thirst must be excruciating. Oh, how I longed to spare him from this. My mother's heart cried out in gratitude when a kind bystander walked out of the crowd to lift a sponge of sour wine to his lips. Jesus sucked the sponge dry, not to soften the blow of his suffering, but to gather strength so that every onlooker would not mishear his final cry. Those who truly heard it would possess even more evidence of what I already knew. My son was no blasphemer, nor did he deserve to die. When Jesus spoke, a cry came from the deepest part of his heart, soul, and body. It rang out in the darkness and joined with the earth that was about to shake. "It is finished." My heart briefly fluttered. Would my son now finally save himself? But my selfish hope fleeted away. Later, we in the early church put more of the pieces together. His cry came at 3:00 that afternoon, the exact time of the daily sacrifice in the temple. As he breathed his last, yes, much would not be finished. The feelings of shame and condemnation for our transgressions, our jealousy, our bondage to greed and cultural norms, and the old way of relating to God, all these and more were to be left behind. My mother's ear was so attuned to his voice that I heard in this cry a tone of triumph. If you listen closely with the ears of faith, you can hear it too. This was not the last gasp of a defeated man. I know my son will live in me always, but God's gift wasn't just for me. Jesus lives in the hearts and through the hands of all who believe. So hear me proclaim it now, as my tears of sorrow have slowly turned to tears of hope. My Lord's embrace of suffering, shame, and death was no accident.